waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the child. This morning. He's actually in the Denver, Colorado area. Got a text from him last night. They were driving past the Denver Broncos stadium and sent us a text where they were at last night. So they're off enjoying themselves, having fun on vacation. But today you get a special treat. You got Pastor Bill is going to be giving us the message today and getting us into God's Word, so it should be pretty exciting. If you can today and you're able to, if you would please stand, and we'll start things off with a prayer this morning. Dear Heavenly Father, we welcome you into this place today, God. Lord, I pray that as we come before your throne today, God, Lord, I pray that you let your Holy Spirit just flow within us, God, that we can connect with you, God, and that we can come to a better understanding of who you are and have a better relationship with you because of it today, God. Lord, I pray over everything that we do here today, God, whether it be through song, whether it be through prayer, whether it be through reading of your scripture or studying your scripture today, God. Lord, I pray that you unveil our eyes, God, that you take all those hindrances, those things away that keep us from you, God, today. Lord, I pray that as we come into this place, God, that you make the devil flee, that you make him stay out of this place, God, that we can come here and that we can focus on you. Lord, I pray that you do just some great things today in our time together, God. That when we leave here, that we can't help but just rejoice and praise you, lift your name on high, thanking you for what you did here, God. Lord, help us to take it with us and apply it to our lives so that we can show others just how awesome, how amazing, and how great your love is. We love you, Lord, and we thank you for all that you do for us. And in the most high name that there is, in the name of Jesus we pray. And the church said, amen. Let's go ahead and let's sing together some more. Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. And oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless
Amen. Hey, Bob. Hey, John. How are you, man? You can be seated. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. We are glad you are here, part of our assembly, especially, man, that light right there is in my eyes, blinding me. I don't know what happened, but we are glad you're here. If you're visiting with us, we are especially happy to have you as part of our assembly. I do want to remind you before I begin to keep Ron and Michelle Sterling in your prayer. Ron's adult son on Friday night was killed in a car accident. I really don't know the details. I talked to them yesterday, and they weren't sure of all the details yet and of exactly what happened. But anyway, keep them in your prayers. I think his name's Robbie. Is that right? Yeah. And also Aaron Furlong. I mean, just folks, be praying for Aaron Furlong every day. Please be praying. I'm going. You know, one of the things that I'm going to tell you a little bit later on, because we're going to talk about the courage to stand, and that should be up there. It is. That's been a theme in Jeremiah. As I've taught Jeremiah on Wednesday night, that's been my theme: courage to stand. And so I'm going to, you know, it's been on my mind and on my heart, and so I'm going to expand on it a little bit today as we talk. But if you would, bow with me in a word of prayer. Father, we have great love for you and trust you in all things, Lord. And we just pray, Father, that you be with us each day. Help us as we serve you. guide us, Father, and just be with us throughout this life, Lord. And as people of yours, we face many, many, many difficulties in life. And certainly these two families right now, Father, are facing great difficulties. And so we pray for them, Father. We pray for the Furlong family. We pray for Aaron. We just love this family and just want the best for her, Father. She has put her college on hold as she undergoes treatment for the cancer that she has. And we just pray for all of that, Lord. Also, we pray for the Sterling family, Father, to lose a child is just, for those of us who are parents, just unimaginable. And so I know they're going through a very, very difficult time right now, Lord, and we just pray your greatest blessings on them. We love you, Lord, and thank you for all of this in Jesus. Amen. We, in our Wednesday night class, we've been studying Jeremiah, epitome of a courageous man, just the epitome of it. And I love him for that. We'll talk more about him in a moment, but over the last several weeks, I've been giving examples of people who were courageous. And one of those examples that I used was a soccer player. She's a college soccer player, has played kind of semi-pro college soccer in the country. She is renowned for her skills. And as I read about her, I read what coaches and others were saying about her, and was definitely good enough to make the national team and to play in the World Cup, to do that. She's that good. Some wondered if it wasn't her Christian views that kept her off that team. We have seen some of their views, and they're not Christian views. And she took a very strong stand for marriage, for example, and would not back off from it. And in her view, it's the Word of God that matters and nothing else. And if she didn't make the national team simply because of her Christian views, so be it. This is who she is. Kinds of shows, including game shows and different things like that. He was on, what was it, Save? What is it? Saved by the Bell, thank you. See, I knew it was Saved by Something. I used to watch that crazy thing. Did you guys watch that? I don't know why I enjoyed it. I'm almost embarrassed. By the way, I've never admitted that publicly before. Oh, thank you, man. Put that online. Anyway, he made a statement about parents allowing 3-year-olds, because some Hollywood stars have done that, choose their gender, and he talked about the absurdity of that and all of that. And immediately he was attacked. I mean, attacked viciously. It wasn't long, and this is the sorry part of it, before he backed off of it, because it was going to cost him his career, because this is what he believed. I happen to agree with him, by the way. Last week we talked about the Cathy family. They own Chick-fil-A, and they are in the second generation. The father in 2013 handed over control of the company to his children with some stipulations. One stipulation was you'll never open on Sunday, and the other stipulation was that you'll never go public because you lose control of your business if you do that. And there was a third one, I don't recall what that was. Well, I know what it was, that they would maintain their Christian values. They have been pleased to do that because he taught them well, and they have maintained their Christian values. And it's become the fastest growing fast food place in the country, despite the fact that because of their convictions, they lose 1/7 of their business by not opening on Sunday. That's courage. We're going to go against the grain. We're not going to do what everyone else does. We're going to honor God no matter what. I like Jeremiah for that reason. What a courageous man he was. Jeremiah 1:17 through 19, I'll share this passage with you. He says, get up and prepare for action. God talking to Jeremiah. Go out and tell them everything I tell you to say, God said. Do not be afraid of them, and I will make you look foolish in front of them. He goes on to say, "For see, today I have made you strong like a fortified city that cannot be captured, like an iron pillar or a bronze wall. You will stand against the whole land, the kings, the officials, the priests, the people of Judah. They will fight you, but they will fail." Jeremiah has a little bit of a meltdown in chapter 20, and he's just disgusted with everything that's going on. This man's life was threatened on many occasions. He was put into stocks in the temple. He was imprisoned. He was thrown into a muddy cistern, expected to die. He wasn't allowed by God to have a wife or children, and he preached this greatly unpopular message for 40 years. After that meltdown of chapter 20 where he says, "God, why? Why is all of this happening to me? Why do I have to live like this?" He goes through all of that, and immediately he begins to confront the kings and the leaders of Israel. And he does it without fear of what they can do. He preached it in the temple, in the streets of Jerusalem, in the cities of Judah. He preached it before kings and dignitaries. He preached it in front of common people. It didn't make any difference. He preached in the streets. He preached at the temple. He preached in the cities of Judah. It didn't matter what else happened. He was going to proclaim the word of God no matter what. And it was unpopular. He's telling them, you're going into Babylonian captivity and you can't stop it. Other false prophets were saying to them, that will never happen. Can I tell you that the issues today are great? And I've seen a lifetime full of it. Too many politicians use their own religious affiliation not for greater moral accountability or as their foundation for governing, but to garner votes. I want to hear them get up and say, my faith drives my views. But they won't say it, at least most. Abortion, homosexuality, the destruction of God-designed marriage, the loss of values, the taking of innocent life, the future of our children is being sold out in so many ways, and discipleship is increasingly challenged, increasingly difficult as we maneuver among the landmines we call popular culture. I'm really going to key in on something that Jesus said today for just a little bit. I think it's very important. He said a large crowd was following Jesus. This is from Luke 14, beginning with verse 25. A large crowd was following Jesus. He turned around and said to them, if you want to be my disciple, you must be, by comparison, this is the NLT, hate everyone else, your father, your mother, your wife, your children, brothers, sisters, yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple. Can I tell you something? I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but I've already said one embarrassing thing. Why not two? I've never said that to anyone. And I'm going to tell you, I've taught a lot of people over the years. Many people have been brought to me. I've baptized many, many people over the years who have turned their lives over to Christ. But I've never. Then he talks about counting the cost of discipleship. I want to share with you 3 points today, and I want you to think about what I'm saying. I don't know where your faith is, so I can say the things that I say from this pulpit without judgment. I think every one of us have to look at ourselves and where we are and who we are and how this thing affects our life or how it doesn't affect our lives. I believe that this is the time to reject religious consumerism. I'm convinced that many are nothing more than consumers of religion, inspiration for the sake of inspiration. One writer calls them inspiration junkies. Religion has become sort of a feel-good phenomenon. So people embark on spiritual journeys to find gurus and modern spiritual wizards and monks in high places, transcendental meditation, yoga, karma, Confucianism, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And yet Jesus says to us, take up your cross. Anyone who does not carry his cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. Cannot be my disciple. That's challenging, isn't it? And I hear people say, well, you know, my cross is my financial problems, or my cross is my health, or lack of it, or my cross is my unruly children, or my cross is the death of my mother, or the death of my father, or someone close to me. That's my cross. And maybe you've said it. But I'm going to tell you that today there are far too many consumers of religion. You see, I don't even like the word particularly. I am a follower of Jesus Christ. I am a disciple of His. People buy gold-edged Bibles. They listen to Christian music, which is all good, and attend user-friendly churches, wear shiny crosses, where often nothing much is required of them. How do you express your discipleship? How do you express your relationship to Jesus Christ? What makes you a disciple of His? Many lives of people who call themselves Christians are not particularly upright or civil, much less Christ-like. Every bonus or raise signals the possibility of bigger and better things instead of greater generosity. We think we have achieved a great moral victory simply by not cheating on our income taxes or our wives. If we generally are pleasant and polite, we judge ourselves to be Christian. And I'm going to tell you something, and I want you to think about this. When Jesus called you to follow Him, He didn't call you to pleasantness and politeness. Now, am I saying Christians ought to be ugly and negative? No. But He called you to join Him in battling against the spiritual forces of darkness that war against the human soul. And they're all around us. They're everywhere. He called you to step into the breach, to battle for what is holy and pure and just. He called you to stand and be counted. Beginning on Wednesday, September 4th, Beth, I think Beth is in here someplace, aren't you, Beth? Yeah, she's going to begin a series here on Wednesday night, and it is called what, Beth? Making Life Disciples, and it's going to be a whole lot about partnering with those who are on the front lines of the battle, who are leading people away from abortion, giving them options to having their children. How much are you involved in that or any other Christian ministry or organization? He called you to step into the breach, to battle for what is holy and pure and just. Some years ago, I was standing in a line at a grocery store, and a woman in front of me was wearing one of those backpack things with a child in. A lot of them do it on the front now, but in those days it was done pretty much on the back. And as I stood there behind her in line, I noticed a sign on the backpack, and it read, "This child tends to shoplift. Please inform mother." You know, and it was a problem with those things. If you go buy something, kids are reaching out and grabbing stuff and all of that. In the spiritual realm, a theft is going on too. Satan is in the business of ripping us off of things that are far more valuable than candy in a checkout line. Remember what Jesus said. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. So he seeks to steal our zeal. We still love the Lord. We still love the church. But what happened to all the energy and passion that we had for God When everything else seems to get in the way and matter more, what happened to that passion, that zeal is gone. The Bible says God's plan for us is that we are transformed into his likeness with ever-increasing glory which comes from the Lord who is Spirit. Satan seeks to steal our calling. I think there's a unique calling that rests on every Christian's life, and that's the desire to serve others in the name of the Lord. That's what we've been called to, every single one of us. Remember that stirring inside you. He gave you a dream about what he wanted you to do in life. Maybe he wanted you to teach children. Maybe he wanted you to be a prayer warrior, and that brings me to our individually. How many of us do that? Maybe he called you to lead or to plan areas of work, and then it happened. You get discouraged. Someone says something negative to you. You get busy with all kinds of other things in life, and those plans simply go away. I'm going to tell you that he is seeking to steal our marriage. They tell me that the divorce rate among churchgoers is just about equal with the population at large. It kills me to say it. But let me tell you where it changes. It changes dramatically. When a husband and wife are both fully committed to Jesus Christ. Changes dramatically. They don't tell you that. But I'm going to tell you that. That when our commitment and our number one focus in life is Jesus, it changes dramatically. I'm not passing judgment on what's happening in anyone's life or marriage, by the way. And I'm going to tell you, he seeks to steal our faith. In the middle of all these losses is a silent theft of the most crucial element of our spiritual walk, our faith. People with faith develop a kind of sixth sense. Christians see more than just their circumstances. They see God. I've been watching a Furlong family. And I'm telling you, they're looking to God. I have seen those kinds of things destroy faith. I have seen others come through with greater faith. You see, Satan's work is not necessarily to remove faith, just to marginalize it. This world, this country doesn't care if you're a Christian. Because you can find Christians on every side of every issue, people who say they're disciples of Jesus Christ on every side of every issue. It doesn't matter what it is. All he wants to do is marginalize it. All he wants to do is convince you that, well, you know everything in the Bible. I know what it says about marriage. I know what it says about this issue, that issue. But really those things don't matter, and we're in a different time. You ought to really think about it differently, you know. Marginalize your faith. Make it so it doesn't count for anything. It doesn't move you beyond where you are. Satan just wants God to be a peripheral in our lives, just out here on the edge, you know. I mean, we seek in this church to try to bring people from the edge inside the body of Christ so that they can become more involved and do more things. And that's where we need to be with God. We need to be on the inside with God, the central focus of life. And what Satan wants to do is make him peripheral to life so that when we go through problems, he's really the last thing we think about, never the first. Right? Stanley Rogers draws an interesting parallel for us that I've always liked. He says that when a ship is rolling in a heavy gale, and you can imagine being on a ship and it's going up and down, and all of that. He says when that happens, he says her passengers grow nervous. That'd be me. They begin to think about the past and regret things because they're thinking we might die. But when the ship, he said, is groping her way slowly through a thick fog, the passengers go to bed and sleep soundly. Yet paradoxically, he says, the greatest peril at sea is not the storm, but the fog. You remember that great ship Titanic sank in the midst of a paralyzing fog while people slept. You see, when you take your eyes off the cross, the very basis for good, you find yourselves in a deep moral fog. All of a sudden, you can't tell right from wrong. We watch things that Christians really ought not to consume. We go to things that where Christians ought not be, and we think in ways that Christians should not think because we have been caught in this deep moral, spiritual fog. He called you to discipleship. Second thing is that I think it's a time to reject popular culture, folks. I'm sick of popular culture. I'm sick of the beatdowns like Mario Lopez went through. He caved because his entire life was in jeopardy. He has a family, and I'm not supporting him in that, but I'm telling you he caved because he didn't want to lose his TV programs. Because our groups within this nation are going to make sure that you can not think the way you want to think, and you won't do what you want to do because they're going to beat you down every time you try. Luke notes that large crowds were traveling with Jesus. Well, so what do you do with large crowds? I've already mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. Well, you might just go with the popular message, right? I mean, after all, you want to maintain the crowd. So Jesus turned around to this huge crowd in Luke 14, and he said to them, you better think about this. And you better think seriously about it. I'm paraphrasing, of course. You see, does he take a poll to see how the crowd, just to put their fingers on the pulse of the group? You've heard all of that before, haven't you? Does he first consider that he might lose them if he asks too much? And the answer to that is no. His message is his message. It is not contrived. It is not altered to suit the crowd. It is not populist. He's not putting his finger in the air to see which way the wind is blowing, and neither should we. You see, Jesus hasn't issued a call for consumers of religion or inspiration junkies, and I'm personally sick and tired of people who use Christianity as their ticket to some political office. Are Christians whose behavior is indistinguishable from the world in which Satan reigns. He didn't reign in here, he reigns out there. Are people who wear crosses as a sign of nothing. If you're wearing a cross today, it means something. It means that the Son of God came into this world and died for you, and it means that your views are his views, or should be. Crosses aren't user-friendly. They aren't shining objects of smooth gold. They aren't decorative ornaments. They kill. I want you to understand that wearing a cross is like wearing an electric chair on your lapel or around your neck. It is an instrument of death. Jesus was forced to pick up his cross and bear it all the way to his death. So I want you to understand your cross is not your financial problems. It's not your problems with unruly children. is not health difficulties or the loss to death of people that you love, or a million other things that are part of living in a sin-dominated world because your non-Christian neighbors have the same problems. Your cross. And if you take nothing else away from this lesson, take this, is your death. Matthew 10, Jesus says, whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life will find it. He wants you to lose your life in order to find it. Not only is this a time to reject religious consumerism and the time to reject popular culture, it is also a time to reject a powerless Christian faith. I'm not afraid of the world. I'm not afraid of what they say. I'm not afraid of what they do. I've always liked Doug's phrase when he says, you shouldn't be surprised when the world acts like the world. In other words, stand up and be counted. Make a decision. If you waver between God and everything else in this world, stop it. I love the story of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. He said back in the early 1940s, he said, when Christ calls a man, he bids him come and die. That's what he means when he says, pick up your cross. Your cross is your death. You're dying to the world, living for him. That's your cross. Some say that he was born in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I say he was born at exactly the right place at the right time. Just where God wanted him. I have a book about Bonhoeffer. I think it's about 600 pages this long. It's a whole lot about the German resistance and all of that. But he was a German Lutheran minister, young man. He joined the German resistance when the evils of Nazism became apparent. It was evil. Evil beyond imagination. In a film about Bonhoeffer, he's pictured in Berlin in 1939, just a young man. The film is framed by Hitler's demand that German citizens swear a type of allegiance to Hitler, who was atheist. It's not the first time in history that's happened. Many, many dictators throughout the past have done exactly that same thing. Some of the first century Christians faced it with the emperors of Rome. Other religious leaders of his day were saying, Christians, stay out of this. Hitler will allow us to continue as we have been. Stay out of it. It sounds like the prophets of Jeremiah's day who were telling the people, don't worry, everything's going to be all right. Just sit back and relax. God's not going to destroy this city. Here's what Bonhoeffer said. Let's not delude ourselves that if we take the loyalty oath to Hitler, it means they'll let us worship in peace. He was right. It wasn't going to happen. Adolf Hitler demands nothing less than total commitment. He's the elected chancellor, yes, but more than that, he considers himself der Führer, and as the leader, which is what that means, he craves to be the conscience of every living German. But his claim upon us is a claim that a Christian can only accept from Christ himself. Can I tell you, this was a time when men and women were going to have to put their faith on the line. It's easy to live in a society where we can worship and serve God freely, isn't it? Imagine what it was like in Germany in the late 30s and into the 40s. He helped write a document called the Barmen Declaration that called on Christians to remember that their first allegiance is to Christ alone. He and other German churchmen who refused to accommodate their faith to the evils of Nazism left the state-supported churches. And he said, Bonhoeffer said, when Christ calls a man, he bids him come and die. That's what he wrote. Crosses aren't user-friendly, they kill. He asks you to die, to surrender yourself. Well, Dietrich Bonhoeffer was arrested in 1943 for plotting against Adolf Hitler. And he was hanged in Flossenburg prison on April the 9th, 1949. And he was only 39 years old. Those words, when Christ calls a man, he bids him come and die, are significant. And I will tell you that sometimes I feel a bit ashamed when out of the comfort of my existence, I can find it so easily to cave in and give up my Christian values. Brothers and sisters, we need to have the courage to stand, to be who God has called us to be, to reject the popular culture of the world, and certainly to reject religious consumerism, and to stand. Take up your cross and follow me. Well, we're going to sing an invitation song today. You might be struggling with something in life that we could pray for you about. And I can assure you that today I'd like nothing more than to sit and pray with you about whatever is happening in your life, because I believe that we serve a God who can actually do something about it. And it may be today that you're not a Christian and want to be, despite all what we've said. The fact of the matter is that God's calling you and wants you and desires to have you as one of his own. And so today, as we stand and sing, we can help you in any way. We want you to know that we're here for you. I don't care what it is. Let's all stand together.